My name is Philip D'Souza. I'm the Director of Communications and Marketing at HEROC. I'm joined today with Marie-Josée Martel, who is one of 6 new board members at HEROC. We thought we'd do something different to introduce our newest additions, so we're reaching out to each person and posing a few questions so you can get to know them a bit better. So, let's get to it. Welcome, Marie-Josée.
Thank you. Nice to see you virtually.
Exactly. My first question for you is, what does good governance and being an active board member mean to you?
Well, the first thing is to get ready for meetings, to read your material, to ask the questions, to do a bit of research, to phone people if you don't understand in advance of the meeting. And I would say that aside from attending and being very present to the meeting and hearing, you have to remain independent. Because you're there because of your competencies or your experience or both, and you can't be co-opted. At the same time, you have to have the vision that you're doing this for the good of the organization and the subscribers, the members of the organization in this case. The other thing is you've got to learn something that is very difficult for somebody like me who's been in operation, is to put your hands into the business. Respect that there is very competent staff like you and Dina and Catherine and Polly, and just be there to ask the right question at the right time and make sure that all of the legislation is abided by, that source deductions are remitted as an organization. Due diligence of a director.
The question is, what is one thing people would be surprised to learn about Hôpital Montfort?
Hôpital Montfort. First thing, something personal. I was born at Montfort.
Yay! That's amazing.
It's in my DNA, I guess. But people would be surprised to know that it's the only French teaching hospital in Ontario.
Wow.
We have a mission, really, to teach the future doctors and the doctors of now, the new technique, but to do it to all the Francophone population. The second thing is we have a provincial mandate, and we deliver services everywhere in the province in French. So we have services that we partner with Toronto, different organizations, up north in North Bay, in Kapuskasing, and all kinds of. So some of the services that we offer are through telephony or virtual screens like this. And we can have mental health services. We can do consultation services in different fields. And today I attended the Quality Council of the hospital because I'm a member. And I was amazed. In the month of April, we have done 10 times more consultation over the telephone. Hey, because there's a pandemic. So suddenly, what you need people to say, hey, that's the way to go. I can't go to. So even locally, with local doctors and patients, we did follow up. So I was amazed. So in a month, did 10 times more than last year, if I understood correctly the statistics. Don't quote me. But, it's amazing. So in my old jobs in the past, I used to say there's nothing like a good war. I don't wish a pandemic on anybody. But these are the types of opportunities that when you're agile and nimble like Montfort, you will say, we're already in that space. How can we occupy more of the territory? How can we be more useful? To the third thing that you might be surprised, because Montfort is a Francophone hospital, we serve more than 50% are either English speaking or speak other language than French and English in our patients. So all the staff at Montfort is bilingual, at least French and English minimum, plus a whole bunch of other languages are spoken through the marvelous staff, but everybody's bilingual.
Wow, I asked you one thing, you gave me 3.
Yes, well, I could go on and on.
So, and it speaks to the resiliency at Montfort of pivoting during a pandemic to provide virtual care, to provide care, but also ensuring that it's safe care and that people feel comforted. And that's amazing to hear. I'm sure our listeners, our viewers are happy to hear that there's so many dedicated board members such as yourself, and of course all the staff who are like
Staff.
yes, amazing.
They're amazing. And I could see some of the staff that are normally in physiotherapy. They've moved on to a clinic for COVID testing. And Marc-André, who's the manager of ambulatory care, would you believe? He's on a bus with a bunch of staff, all respecting distanciation. And they're going to a little town 30 miles from Ottawa to test in some seniors home. So here they were, Montfort was manning or operating the COVID clinic, one of the COVID clinic in Ottawa, and they went mobile because that community needed them. And it's a very French community, so of course we're going to call upon our staff.
Excellent.
So I'm very proud of them. I think it shows.
Of course, it does, definitely. So, is there a book you would recommend to anyone?
Yes, and I don't know if they will have a lot of resonance or a lot of people that have read it in this audience, but it's called Le Petit Prince of Saint-Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. I read it as a child, well, teenager, I would say, but ever since I read it minimum once a year, and now I have a version for my grandchildren who are very small. So I make sure I read it once a year, but I read it more than once a year. What I find is that it has so much good values, but depicted as a child's story, but really very profound. So I would say that that certainly speaks to what I believe is important for a board member. You know, you befriended this organization, you spend time with that organization, they've made you part of them. Just like the fox in Le Petit Prince, you become responsible. They're special to me. They're very, very special to me because I spend a lot of time with them. Or one of the most profound things, and it takes me in all kinds of direction, is to say that the essential is invisible to the eyes. You only see well with the heart. So you have to pass through the appearances and really go deeper. So Le Petit Prince is my favorite book.
Now that you said that, I think I'm going to have to read it again. I read it many times.
New eyes.
Exactly. What do you do, Marie-Josée, when you're creatively stuck?
Okay. I am not one to stand for the status quo. I get up every morning and say, what damage could I cause to the status? Sometimes it's in my house. Okay, I'm moving the furniture around, I'm doing things. I think that when you're stuck, you've got to maybe go for a walk, maybe go and exercise, maybe go and take a bubble bath. You have to move away from the problem and say, it's going to come to me because I know I can find. The other thing is, you can't be afraid to ask for help. Okay. If you're afraid to ask for help, you're in trouble. Yes. I don't pretend that I'm the best at solving issues, but I certainly can assemble a team pretty quickly. I know how to build on strengths of people. So I would say I do get stuck, but I get unstuck.
Very good. No, that's very good. That's very good. And the last question I have for you, is there someone in healthcare you look to for inspiration or motivation, or that you just admire?
Well, just like I had 3 things for Montfort and I would have had 50 things for Montfort, I spent a lot of time thinking about that question. And my first reaction was, I had a big accident, and the doctor that saved my leg to me is like Dr. God. So I could talk about him. And then there is the congregation, the Filles de la Sagesse, which is a religious congregation that created Montfort. And I'm still associated because they're my neighbors in my backyard. It's a big convent. And I go and talk to them, and they're all in their 80s, and the stories they have to tell, that they weren't even nurses, but they were all working to even cleaning the hospital and doing everything. So they are my heroes. But really, one person that stands out is Dr. Bernard Leduc. When you're an executive, and I was never a deputy minister, but I was an assistant deputy minister, and it's lonely at the top. And you have to stay grounded. And you have to develop a team that supports you. I've now observed him for 10 years, okay, since my accident, because I spent a lot of time at the hospital in physio and all the other services, and I've seen him. I've seen how he's present. I've seen how he enables to create. And it's hold on. It's not a phase. It's not one little exercise that he does. I've seen how he is putting the patient at the center of everything that he does in the hospital. He sits on the board. He never misses one. He comes to the Quality Council. I mean, I sometimes I think there's 2 or 3 of him, because he's a very present person to all these activities. So he is my star. And I know that it would hurt his humility if he heard me say that. So I hope you don't play it to him, because it will hurt him. He's a very modest man. But my God, he amazes me. And through this pandemic, he has written to every day the board members. Then we went to weekly, because we were he made sure that we were part of the team, that we knew what was happening. And I thought, my God, he is an amazing leader. Gets the best out of people.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for taking time today. I can feel it, just Marie-Josée, I can feel your passion. I can feel that you value community, and you value giving back through contribution, through your hard work on the board. So we are so happy to have you on our board, and we're looking forward to working with you. Thank you so much, Marie-Josée.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time. Have a great day.
You too. Have a good day. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.